Hey folks, we are going to talk about NEAR accounts and NEAR keys. It's going to be really interesting as this works quite uniquely at NEAR protocol. So we are going to start at the very beginning with wallet on testnet and just see how everything is working, and then try out different ways of using the full access keys and function call access keys. So what we are seeing right now is wallet.testnet.near.org. When you go there and you have no account, you'll see something like this. If you already have an account, you can get there by going up here and selecting create new account. Let's just simply try something that hasn't been taken. Amazingly, videos.testnet is available, so grab your cool names right now. Create an account. Different options here. We do have ledger support. We have email recovery, phone recovery. For now, I'm going to use recovery phrase. So here is the seed phrase. So we are going to copy this, continue. It's going to ask us word number 7. Word number 7 happens to be vote. Okay, so this next step says enable two-factor authentication. This is going to be a really interesting video for later about how keys work, but that will be a bit too complicated for right now. So let's pause for a second and look up here. Upper right hand corner, we see videos.testnet. So let's look at what keys we have for this account as it stands. We're going to be using a CLI tool called NEAR CLI. Once you have that installed, there's a number of commands you can get to. Let's just type NEAR to list them out. As you can see, there is create account, state, delete, a bunch of these. We have some good documentation on this. We will get to this later. The thing that we're going to look at right now is keys. So NEAR keys, and then you're going to give account ID. View the account public keys. Okay, so let's do that. NEAR keys videos.testnet. So we have two keys. So interesting, what's going on? We just created an account. We have not done 2FA on it. Two full access keys, which is interesting. So if you open up your developer tools, usually by right-clicking inspect, you will see this deal. There's a bunch of different tabs. We're going to be on the application tab. On the left-hand side, you can see storage, then there's local storage, and here is all of the local storage that is for this particular site. I have already filtered it by this new account, so now it is showing us that this is actually the private key in local storage for wallet. So here it is, plain as day, the private key. And so let's go back and let's use some tricks on NEAR CLI to make sure that this is actually something that looks reasonable. We are basically looking to see what are these two keys, okay? So we have a bunch of different commands with NEAR. We also have NEAR REPL, read, evaluate, print, loop. You've seen this before with like Node or Python or different things. Once you use NEAR REPL, there is an automatic object in there. I wouldn't worry about this too much, but this is a kind of an interesting way to run things very quickly using our NEAR API JS library. So it's taking this private key and it's saying, okay, we're going to grab an object, and then there's going to be a public key on that, and let's show the string of that. So that comes out as AU6, If we highlight that, search for it, sure enough, we've got that one. So this bottom one is the browser local storage one. So what is this? This one is our recovery phrase, and we can actually tell this by also using NEAR CLI, NEAR generate, and then we're putting in our seed phrase. And key pair with 3TXAA. Yep, and that is the matching one to this. So that is why when you create a brand new account using Wallet, you have two full access keys. Next, we're going to look at what happens when you use some of our sample apps. here we have examples.near.org. There's actually a shortcut to this, near.dev. We'll redirect right back here. So let's go to this first one, guestbook. Here is a nice README of how this all works. I recommend checking this out. There's two buttons at the top, browse on GitHub or open in Gitpod. Let's just go to Gitpod. Gitpod is a really neat way to essentially not change your development environment on your computer at all and just do this all on your browser. Super amazing. So this is going to be loading up our guestbook here in a second. Okay, so guestbook is loading and now it just completed. In the bottom right hand corner, we see that there's an open browser button. Let's just go there. Cool, so now it has created this little interface and we are going to log in with it. It's going to say which account do you want to use to log into this. We're going to say videos.testnet. So now we come back and we can write in this guestbook. Yeah, so we have signed in as videos.testnet. So inside of the browser, we have a different kind of key that has been stored. So what is exactly going on here? I think we need to take a little bit of a step back. We go back to Gitpod. Let's take a look down here in the terminal. So we are starting deployment with this account ID dev bup-a-dup-a-dup. Okay, so where did this come from? I don't think it's necessary to worry too much about this, but essentially there is a repo called NEAR Contract Helper, and we are trying to allow people to use NEAR as easily as possible, and that is just automatically helping to create this kind of a burner account. It won't be deleted after a certain amount of time. This is yours forever, but it has kind of an ugly name. So this is actually an account on this VM, basically. So if we were to look inside of NEAR credentials, then there's a folder called default. And then inside of there is this account.json. So this is actually the unencrypted key pair. So actually, let's just take a look. So it's JSON, account ID, public key, private key. So here it is. Again, it's in the home directory here. And when you use NEAR CLI and you log in, this is also where it'll save it to. So let's take a look at what keys we have on this particular account. NEAR keys, and then this account name. Cool, full access key. Also, I will note that this is talking directly to the chain, so we could also do NEAR keys here, and it's exactly the same. So we have one full access key. This wasn't created with wallet, this was created programmatically, so this is why there's just one on here. What's interesting is we have logged in with videos.testnet into the account here, which contains this contract. Basically, this account was created, the contract of this repository was built and deployed to it. So now let's go and take a look. So let's take a look at the keys going on here now. All right, as you can see, we've got full access, and then now we have a new one, function call. So this is a function call access key. This is the first function call access key on this account, videos.testnet. So this is basically saying we have created a key for this account that is allowed to call this particular contract, and it has a given allowance of this much NEAR, essentially, to pay in terms of gas. You can explicitly define different method names that can be called. If you define none, then you are allowed to call any method on this account. So this allowance comes down to a bit of NEAR, This is kind of small. We use Yocto-NEAR, which is 24 decimal places. Let's just quickly use another kind of handy tool that we have with NEAR REPL to see how much exact NEAR that is. So it's 0.249 NEAR for this. So this is neat. So essentially, this guest book did not make any new keys. It still has just that one full access key, but the account that we have logged in here, videos.testnet, created a function called access key on itself, and now it is using that in local storage right here. This function call access key can't do powerful actions, as we call it in NEAR. There are different actions associated. Here is a list. This is at nomicon.io. Let's make this a bit bigger. So we have create account, deploy account, function call, transfer, stake, add key, delete account. So you certainly would not want to go into someone's dApp and create a function call access key that was able to completely delete the account. You can only do that with full access key, and same with a lot of these other ones. I believe that function call here is what function call access keys can do, and the rest of them are for full access keys. So that was an example of a person logging into a dApp and creating a function call access key on their account. Now there's also a lot of power in creating a function call access kind of on the opposite end of this. So imagine that you want to get 100 influencers to start using your dApp, and they may not have a NEAR account, and you give them some invite code or something. What you can do is you can actually create a function call access key on the dApp side and give the user that key to use. The contract itself that a visitor is using would be paying for the gas for this particular user. This we actually did in a demo for a Chainlink integration. In here, we actually hard-coded a function call access key inside of this. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's clear this up. So this was NEAR keys client.chainlink.testnet. So this had one full access key and then one function call access key. So the function call access key, it was able to call client.chainlink.testnet, is only allowed to call get token price. And then it had quite a bit of allowance. In our GitHub repo, the private key is completely open, so anyone can quote unquote steal that private key, but all you can do with it is just call this one contract, this one method. And I think this is like 1900 NEAR, if I remember correctly, so people can go hog wild if they want. But I think this really illustrates an interesting part of the NEAR account systems and how you can really get users to start using your system. Here is our documentation. I think it's important to mention docs.near.org, constantly evolving. So I'll show you at the time of this video how the navigation works for this. I think it's really important to know where to find information on the CLI that we've been doing. So right now it's at basics, NEAR CLI. Now we have all these great commands and exactly how to use them. You can just do straight up NEAR add key. So let's click on this and just see an example of this. Using the CLI, we can do a full access key, or we can add a function call access key. Here's exactly what that would look like. Feel free to copy this, paste it into your terminal, play around with it. A couple of things to note here. We've been using NEAR CLI for some of this. So let's do this again. NEAR keys videos.testnet. As a reminder, we just got 2 full access keys, this one function call access key. Down at the bottom, we've got 3 total. On wallet, we got sections for authorized apps, which are essentially function call access keys and full access keys. So I can go down here, see exactly some details about this function call access key. I can click here actually deauthorize it. All right, so let's go back and let's take a look at the same keys. Now we're back to the 2 full access keys. So there is some really neat functionality on the wallet side. Another thing to note is that if you're familiar with the concept of a nonce or nunce, it's a number used once, there are unique nonces per key. So at times you may run into conflicts. There's different ways to approach this, but essentially having multiple access keys is a great way to avoid nonce collisions. So let's recap the different kinds of keys that we talked about for a second here. So inside of Gitpod, we have an unencrypted key located in the home directory .near credentials. It looks like this. Let's copy this guy. And this is a way to just kind of format it. So this is what it looks like. That's unencrypted. Over here we have a now deleted function call access key, but it is still stored in local storage. So this is the second kind, local storage key. And then we discussed briefly the chain link way. Here is some code. And we are going to focus right here. This is using NEAR API.js. We are creating a new key store that's an in-memory key store. Unencrypted, local storage, in-memory. These are basically the 3. Open up this really quickly. Don't worry if this is above your head. This is not really that important, but in case folks are watching this and interested, this is a file from NEAR API.js, and we can see that we've got these in-memory key store, browser local storage key store, unencrypted file system key store, and then merge key store. Merge key store is a way to have multiple of these. So for instance, let's say you're looking in 2 different directories for keys. You can use merge store key to say, look in the current directory, look in this subdirectory, look in my home directory. You'd use merge key store. And at the top here, we do see key store. This is these are extending key store, so that is how that's working. Here we are back at wallet. Notice also that this has some nice activity, so we can see that that key was deleted recently. Upper right hand corner, we have 499 NEAR. So I could use this handy button right here to send some NEAR to mic.testnet. Just send 1. Confirm and send. Again, this browser local storage has the full access key. It just dropped down to 498. Okay. So we're going to do something that's very common with NEAR CLI when developing. We're going to say NEAR login. This is going to automatically open up our wallet. Yes, we are going to allow making a full access key. Full access. Awesome. Close this window. Closed. Let's go back here, and it says that this has been created successfully. So similar to how we saw it on Gitpod, this is now inside of our home.near credentials default videos. Cool. So there it is. I am not going to show the contents of this one. So now that we have this, I can do things like NEAR send videos.testnet to mic.testnet 19. So now you have this unencrypted full access key there. Gives me a nice little link to go to Explorer. You can see that 19 NEAR was deposited. If we go to our wallet dashboard, you see we've dropped down in NEAR. So lastly, let's clean this up. So we're going to delete the 2 access keys that we have shown the private keys for. It's going to be NEAR delete key videos.testnet. Okay, it's working on that. And then this other one. These were the first 2 that came when we first created the account. Let's take a look at NEAR keys videos.testnet. So now we just have one full access key, and it's the one that lives on my computer that I haven't showed the private key for. This is also a demonstration of how you would like rotate keys and whatnot. Very easy with the CLI, very easy with Wallet, although I think Wallet tries to dissuade you from getting rid of all your keys. You absolutely can get rid of all your keys, especially if you're writing a smart contract and you want to have a lot of trust around it and you want to make sure that there are 0 full access keys. Let's demonstrate this actually. So now this website has no idea that the full access key has been deleted underneath it. So let's try the same thing, sending mic.testnet a NEAR, and this should not, error has happened. Cannot sign transactions for account. So yeah, this is how all the keys work and accounts work. Lastly, we will talk about top level accounts and sub accounts. So here we have a command that we're going to execute, and this is going to demonstrate a top level account. So a top level account is different than a normal account in the sense that there is no suffix. So videos.testnet has the suffix .testnet. On mainnet, it's .near, betanet, .betanet, etc. Let's try this. Saving key there. Okay. So you notice that this does not end in .testnet, and that is interesting. It's also interesting that it does not end in .videos.testnet. Something that ends in .videos.testnet is known as a subaccount. I won't go into too much information about how TLAs work or like why we're having them, but it is possible to create them, including on mainnet. I made one on mainnet here, as you can see, just a bunch of mics. I believe at the time that I made this, the limit was 32 characters. Eventually, TLAs will not have this length restriction, so I could get mic, not mic.near or all these mics, but just straight up mic, and there will be an auction for that, so that's when TLAs will get really interesting. As of the time of this video, that has not happened yet. That is all we're going to really cover on TLAs. That's not a very common use case. The more common use case is to have sub-accounts. It's the same kind of pattern. NEAR create account likes.videos.testnet, and then the master account is going to be videos.testnet. So this is creating a sub-account, and now this is its own standalone account. Likes.videos.testnet is a real account. Here it is. It's got 100 NEAR. That's because when you do this command, the default initial balance is 100 NEAR. I also really love using NEAR CLI like this, where you can say NEAR account, and then you can add the help flag, and it will give you a lot of unique results on what kind of things you can do with this command down here. Initial balance default was 100. So that's why we have 100 for this brand new account. So even though it's a sub account, it is like completely separated from the other parent account, you could say, which is the videos.testnet. So NEAR keys likes.videos.testnet. As you can see, we just have one full access key. So the only one that can actually use this is the one that was just created above here, right there. And this can keep going. This is almost like domain names. So we can say NEAR create account mic.likes.videos.testnet. And let's do this wrong the first way. So master account videos.testnet. No, that's not possible. It can't be created by that one. It always has to be from the sub account that's the immediate parent. So if we say the master account is likes.videos.testnet, then we cannot do it because we do not have enough NEAR. It can't start with the default initial balance, like I said. So let's do this again. Initial balance of 6. There we go. So now we have likes.videos.testnet, mic.likes.videos.testnet. I think this is a good idea for things like games where you can have different players that have their own sub-accounts, that have their own nonces, so there aren't any nonce collisions. So this is a very powerful way to have accounts for your dApp. Thanks for joining, and we will make more videos about this. Feel free to reach out to me and the team at near.chat. Thanks.